So just imagine that you're interested in EVE Online and you want to start the game. Perhaps you've seen some awesome PvP videos, perhaps you've seen some great graphics, maybe you think the character designer looks awesome, or you've read about some crazy metagaming where entire alliances have been destroyed by trusting one individual too much. So I'm here to help all you budding space pilots out by telling you the 10 most important things you need to know before you even start playing the game. The first and most important thing is that EVE Online is an MMO with a subscription fee that you pay every month. It is possible to entirely pay for your account using in-game cash once you get good, but to start with, you're going to have to be spending about $15 a month on your account. To allow players to buy game time using in-time cash, CCP has created an item called Plex, a pilot's license extension. The way Plex works is that players with a lot of real-world money but not very much game money will use real money to buy a Plex and then sell it as an item on the EVE market. Then players with a lot of in-game money but not much real-world money buy the Plex off the market and apply that to their game account. Right now the average price of a Plex is about 400 million ISK, which is a lot of money for a brand new player. When new players start out, they're more likely to use Plex to buy in-game items. But the good news is that EVE and all of its subsequent expansions have always been available to download for free. And you can get yourself a 2-week trial just by going to the website. Even better, if you ask me, I can give you a buddy invite, and a buddy invite will mean that you get 21 days for free. So don't be shy, just contact me through YouTube. Now the second thing you need to know if you're a prospective EVE player is the hardware requirements. EVE was originally released in 2003, and it had a reputation for a long time as a game which did not require a great deal of hardware to run well. Since the start of 2011, the requirements have been raised a little from the original spec. Now you need a graphics card that supports Shader Model 3, and you need a processor that supports SSE 3. But that's fine, because it covers almost any piece of hardware you'll have bought in the last 5 or so years. I have a desktop PC that I'm running this on, and it dates from 2004. I did upgrade the graphics card and the memory a couple of years ago, but it's essentially the original machine that I made back in 2004. And of course, if your PC does struggle playing EVE Online, you can reduce the graphics quality or even turn off the walking in stations feature. The walking in stations feature uses cutting-edge graphics technology, but actually doesn't make very much difference to the gameplay, so it's okay to lose that. You'll still be able to fly around in space and make billions as a space pirate. Finally, EVE Online is officially supported on Windows and Mac OS X. However, there's an ardent group of supporters of Linux who do their best to make sure that EVE keeps on being runnable under Wine. So as long as you've got a piece of hardware with an x86 processor, you'll probably be fine. Now, the third most important thing to know is that in the character creation system, you really don't need to worry what you do. While there are 12 choices of race and bloodline, and then gender, and then school and path and all this, it doesn't actually make any difference to you. Any pilot can train to fly any spaceship in the game, so you don't need to worry about locking yourself out of a particular career or class. My suggestion is you pick it entirely based upon the background or looks or costumes that you like best. The AMARR are religious zealots, the Minmatar are former slaves of the AMARR, the CALDARI are basically giant mega corporations, and the GALLENTE are all about personal freedom and having parties all the time. Now, the fourth essential thing to know about EVE Online is that everything that matters takes place in deep space. Your ship is your avatar into this game world. Ships are kind of like character classes in other games. There are over 200 ships in EVE Online, and these can be fitted in thousands of different ways, setting them up for the task that you need them to do. You can mine asteroids, you can fight space pirates, you can fight other players, you can carry out missions for agents, you can explore the edges of space, dive into wormholes and discover the ancient technologies of the sleepers. And if it's your destiny, you can lead your alliance to conquest over space while flying a giant titan, also known as a space penis. Now, since Incarnate, it has been possible to get out of your ship and walk around and admire the wonderful scenery and character models. Unfortunately, you're not able to walk very far, and you can't walk around with other players at the same time.
The captain's quarters at this time essentially is a fancy UI for managing your station-side activities. But that is not a problem because the flying in space features are what has made this thing great for the last 8 years. Now, the fifth most important thing to realize is that this game does not play like a flight simulator. You cannot plug a joystick in and use it to turn your spaceship and accelerate and slow down. Controlling your ship is more like giving orders to approach an object or keep a certain thing at range while attacking it. There's no direct control over any of these things. Your character will have skills that dictate how effective their guns will be. Your ship's speed and agility will be adjusted by your skills and the ship's inherent abilities. Now, while your direct control of the ship is limited, there's definitely real-world skills that come into play, as deciding the best range to engage, the best way to fly, manual flying. You will find that real-world experience is almost as important as character skill points in the game. Now, important thing number 6 is character development. Your character has skills which will improve in real time. What you do is you say, I would like to be better at gunnery. So you set the gunnery skill to train, and then a timer will start ticking down, and in maybe a few minutes to a few hours to perhaps days or weeks, it'll come back and say, you're now better at gunnery. The training will happen even if you're not logged in. And there are a few ways to adjust the speed and make things faster. But unlike many other games, there is no such thing as grinding for experience. You do not train gunnery faster by shooting asteroids in a belt that can't dodge you. There are hundreds of skills in the game, and to train them all would take something like 15 years. And even my 60 million skill point pilot might still find himself defeated by a 1 million skill point pilot who just happens to have picked a more appropriate ship for the engagement. Important thing number 7 is the economy. Practically every ship in the game was built by a player. Many of the modules for those ships are built by players. And to get to the point of construction, they had to acquire the materials either by mining them themselves or buying them off of the market. Now, most games will have NPC traders where you buy your gear from them and then you sell your loot back to them for money. In EVE, almost all the trades are carried out by humans. It's kind of like a stock market where you basically put up offers to buy item X at a certain price, or you put up a pile of items to sell at another price, and then people will adjust their prices so that they're lowest or the highest, or so that they try to price you out of the market. And then you might have heard of more aggressive tactics, such as the Goon's introduction of ice mining activities for oxygen isotopes. By doing this, they've managed to raise the price of fuel for certain types of capital ships by a factor of 2, and I was very lucky to actually have a stash sitting around and made a huge profit on it. The premier trade hub in New Eden is a place called Jita. It's in CALDARI space, and you can buy or sell anything there. You can make billions if you want just by sitting in the station and buying low and then selling high. It can be a far more profitable activity than flying around and shooting pirates, but most players don't find it interesting because it involves too many spreadsheets. Now, you can buy materials from any place in the game. Jita just happens to be the biggest. You can also fly to AMARR, Rennes, or Dodixie. These are likely to have anything you need as a newbie. Number 8 on our list of important things that you need to know about EVE before you start is security status. Now, security status takes 2 forms. First of all, every star system in the game has a security status. Also, every player has a security status. As a brand new player, you probably want to spend most of your time in high security space. That is, any star system with a security status of about 0.5 or above. When you're in high security space, you are protected by the ever-present threat of Concord. While they can't actually get to the scene of a crime instantly, they will guarantee to rain vengeance upon anybody that decides to get aggressive with you without due cause. Should somebody decide to attack another player without permission, Concord will arrive within about 10 seconds and destroy the ship completely. The aggressor will also lose points of their security status. And if their personal security status drops low enough, they will no longer be allowed to enter high security space without being attacked by the local police. Now, it should be noted that Concord does not guarantee that your ship will not be destroyed. It does, however, make things a lot harder for the aggressor, who has to deliver enough damage to destroy your ship in the few seconds before Concord arrives. And it also guarantees they will lose their ship. But you should be wary if you are flying a fragile ship with a very expensive cargo, because that will make you a target for suicide ganking. This is the technical term given to the act of attacking a person in high security space so your friends can steal their cargo. Generally, it's not a problem unless you're carrying, say, 20 million ISK worth of materials in the hold of a hauler and you're autopiloting across high security space. Anyway, if the system security level is below 0.5, then you're now entering low security space. In low security space, there is no limits to who can attack who. But if somebody does attack another player in low security space without a reason, they will find their security status drops and they will be under attack from the static sentry guns around stations and gates. But you can avoid these. You can't avoid Concord in high security space. Now beyond that, system security can actually go negative and we enter what's called nullsec, or 0-0. In 0-0 there are no NPC police force of any kind. Any aggression between players does not lead to a change in your security status. Furthermore, in 0-0, all sorts of new tactical toys become available for combat, such as warp disruption bubbles and bombs. 0-0 is where those 1,000-man fleet battles happen most of the time. Item number 9 on the list is EVE's reputation as being a hotbed of scammers and griefers. EVE is a sandbox game, and there are relatively few activities which are explicitly against the rules. This means that it's highly unlikely that a GM will reimburse you if you didn't happen to read the small print on a contract, or if you lost a cargo load of pirate implants while autopiloting your shuttle across New Eden. It's not that EVE is griefer-friendly, it's simply that they don't care. The perception is that those people that fell victim to griefers and scammers could easily have avoided the whole problem if they'd thought about what they were doing beforehand. Furthermore, I find great peace of mind in the knowledge that whatever I'm doing in the game universe, I'm unlikely to get randomly banned for doing something I thought was fine, or for accidentally listing some item for sale at 10 times its real price. The fewer rules there are, the better the sandbox. Now, the 10th and final item on my list is PvP. The stories that catch people's attention the most are about those 1,000-man fleet battles. I don't think there's a game out there that can boast this many players fighting over the same objective at the same time. 64-man raids seem positively deserted compared to the giant battles that take place over moon resources. But in EVE, PvP happens at every level. It doesn't even always take place in space. There's a strong argument that players trading on the market are engaging in market PvP. But in-space PvP is something that you can start on day one. With a couple of hours training, you can put a warp disruptor on a cheap frigate and use this to hold targets down while your friends pummel them into oblivion. If you don't have any friends, you can join Red versus Blue and just get good fights all day. And it's not difficult. I've even put my 6-year-old daughter Sky in front of the computer and had her PvP with Red versus Blue, and she got on kill mails. It's the one computer game activity that still gets my heart racing. The most important part of PvP in EVE is picking your opportunities, and that is a real-world skill that you only get through experience. If you want to get involved in bigger engagements, you absolutely have to join a corporation, and that corporation may be part of an alliance, and that alliance may be part of some coalition, which is able to field thousands of ships to achieve their objectives. This is the end game in the EVE sandbox. It's not about the skills your character has, but how you choose to play the game. Okay, so that is the end of my list. I hope you've found it useful and or interesting, and yeah, if you really do want to get that 21-day trial, just contact me and I'll hook you up. Fly safe.